call the meeting to order, the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors. It's the reorganizational meeting. The date is Monday, January 4th, 2016, my birthday, but we won't mention that. General District Courtroom, Edward R. Shields Courthouse Addition. Have the roll call, please, Ms. Flippin.
Mr. Barber.
Here.
Mr. Barksdale.
Present.
Mr. Blackstock.
Present.
Mr. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Hagerman.
Here.
Mr. Scares.
Here.
Mr. Warren.
Present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll observe a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, please stand with me and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, are there any items to be added to the agenda?
Mr. Bundy?
Yes, sir.
I don't have an item to add, but I think that we should move item 12, which would be the appointments to the Daniel Pittsylvania County Regional Facility Authority, RIFA. Move it to new business appointments, because we will have to approve the minutes when we get to that item.
Any objections to Mr. Barksdale's suggestion? Any other items to be added to the agenda? Okay, the board will vote on approval of the agenda in a few minutes when we get a chairman and we get over to that section. As stated in the bylaws of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors under section 1.2, the duties of the chairman are defined. Those duties include presiding over the meetings, and until that time, the duties of the county administrator is to see that a chairman is elected as impartially as possible. And that is why I'm assuming the role at this time as the chairman until that election. Shortly, I will open the floor, accepting nominations for chairman of the board. Motion does require a second in order to be considered. I will recognize any such motions in the order that I see them come in. And then once we have all the motions, the floor has been properly closed, then I will call for a vote until we have a chairman elected. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Blackstock.
I respectfully nominate Jesse Barksdale, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Pennsylvania County.
Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Barksdale for chairman. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Warren. Are there any other nominations for chairman?
Mr. Monday,
Mr. Hagerman.
I nominate Tim Barber for chairman.
Have a motion for Mr. Barber. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Have a second by Mr. Scares. Are there any other nominations for chairman? Once again, are there other nominations for chairman? Do I hear a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Blackstock. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hagerman. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second to close the nominations for chairman. We have two that's been nominated at this time, Mr. Barksdale and Mr. Barber. A call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand to close the nominations. Okay, nominations are closed by a vote of 7-0. I'll call them in the order received. All those in favor of Mr. Barksdale for chairman, please raise your hand. I have 4 votes for Mr. Barksdale. All those opposed? Have a vote of 4-3. Mr. Barksdale, congratulations, you're the chairman of the Board of Supervisors. I turn the meeting over to you at this time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mundy, and thank you, members of the board, for your vote. I will have a short comment to make to this regard after we elect a vice chairman. Item 7 on the agenda, election of vice chairman. The duties of the vice chairman are found in Article 1.3 of the bylaws on page 14 of the board packet. Article 1.3 reads as follows. The board shall also elect a vice chairman to serve a concurrent term with the chairman. In absence or incapacity of the chairman, the vice chairman shall assume all the duties and functions of the chairman. In the case where the chairman and vice chairman are absent from a meeting, the members shall choose one of their number as temporary chairman. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for vice chairman.
I nominate Elton Blackstock.
Mr. Chair, I second that nomination.
We have a nomination by Mr. Warren and a second by Mr. Davis. Are there any other nominations for vice chairman? Mr. Barber.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Jerry Hagerman.
We have a nomination from Mr. Barber.
Second.
Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, Mr. Scares. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay. At this time, is there a motion that the nominations be closed? We have a motion from Mr. Barber and a second by Mr. Blackstock to close the nominations for vice chair. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. 7-0. We will now vote on the nominations in the order that they were made. All in favor of the nomination for Mr. Blackstock, raise your right hand. And the vote is 4. Mr. Blackstock?
All
Oh, I'm
opposed.
sorry. All opposed? Any opposed? We have 4, and 3 opposed. Mr. Blackstock, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Briefly, I want to wish everybody a happy and prosperous new year. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our new supervisors, Mr. Warren, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Scares. I applaud each of these gentlemen for their willingness to run for public office and to volunteer their time for the greater good of Pittsylvania County. And I look forward to the experiences, the knowledge, their skills, and the new ideas that they will bring, I'm sure, to this board. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Okay, we're at item 8 on the agenda, bylaws and rules of order. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the law, bylaws, and the rules of order.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the new bylaws as presented in the executive summary and in our agenda.
We have a motion by Mr. Blackstock. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. So we have 4, and 3 opposed. Can I ask for the
To be
opposed?
correct, yes, sir.
Okay, to be correct. All opposed? 3 opposed, so it's 4-3. B, 8B is the Robert Rules of Orders. I will entertain a motion to approve the Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Robert Rules of Order.
Okay, motion from Mr. Barber. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Blackstock. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous, Mr. Mundy. Item 9, set day and time for the regular meeting. It's found on page 26, 25, and 26 in the board packet. There's a calendar. Hopefully everybody had time to look over the dates. I will entertain a motion to approve our calendar for 2016.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the calendar as presented on page 26 of the board packet.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blackstock and a second by Mr. Barber. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7 of Mr. Young. Next on the agenda, we're down to the appointments of committees by the chair, pages 27 through 28. Starting with the standing committees, the Finance Insurance Committee, which will consist of 4 members. We have Mr. Barksdale, Mr. Blackstock, sorry, can't read my own writing. Mr. Blackstock, Chairman, Mr. Davis, Mr. Warren, Mr. Barksdale. 8B, Personnel Committee, which will consist of 3 members. Mr. Warren, Chairman, Mr. Davis, Mr. Scarce. C, Property Building Committee, consisting of 3 members. Mr. Hagerman, Chairman, Mr. Barber, Mr. Scarce. Legislative Committee, consisting of 3 members, Mr. Davis, Chairman, Mr. Barber, Mr. Barksdale. Number 11 on the agenda, special committees. A, Solid Waste Committee consisting of 3 members, Mr. Scarce, Chairman, Mr. Haberman, and Mr. Davis. B, Computer, Radio, Telecommunications Committee consisting of 3 members, Mr. Scarce, Chairman, Mr. Hagerman, and Mr. Barber. Board of Supervisors, School Board Liaison Committee, 3 members, Mr. Scarce, Chairman, Mr. Warren, and Mr. Barksdale. D, Fire and Rescue Policies and Procedures Committee, 3 members, Mr. Barber, Chairman, Mr. Hagerman, and Mr. Davis. Economic Development Committee, 3 members, Mr. Warren, Chairman, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Barksdale. F, Agricultural Development Board, 1 member, Mr. Warren. G, Animal Welfare Facility Committee, consisting of 3 members, Mr. Blackstock, Chairman, Mr. Barksdale, and Mr. Barber. Other appointments by Chairman, item 12. That has been deferred. We moved that under unfinished business appointments. And I will present that slate of appointees when we get to that item. Item 13. 1 board member to the Pittsylvania County Planning Commission, Mr. Davis. Item 14, 1 board member to the Virginia Association of Counties, Mr. Barksdale. Item 15, 3 board members to the Metropolitan Planning Organization, Mr. Barksdale, Mr. Scarce, and Mr. Davis. Assistant County Administrator for Planning and Development is the alter, and 1 elected official for the Local Emergency Planning Commission, Mr. Blackstock and Mr. Barber. Item 17, board member to the Pittsylvania County Social Services Board, Mr. Barksdale. 1 board member to the Roanoke River Basin Association, Mr. Barksdale. Item 19, 1 board member to the Dan River Business Development Center, Mr. Davis. 2 board members to the West Piedmont Planning District Commission, Mr. Scarce and Mr. Davis. 1 board member to Fire Rescue Emergency Medical Advisory Committee, Mr. Blackstock. Number 22, 1 board member to the local elected officials, Mr. Barksdale. one board member to the Tri-County Lake Administrative Commission. Mr. Haberman. And I think that was the last of the others to be appointed. We're down to the approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion by Mr. Barber,
Mr. Chair, I second.
second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. At time, next on the agenda is the hearing of citizens. I don't know if we have, Mr. Hunt, do we have anyone? Thank you, sir. Before, we have one person who signed up to speak, but just before we do that, I would like to recognize, I think I saw Mr. Scarce is here. Did I see Mr. Who else? Oh, Mr. Shorter. I thought I saw him when he came in. So, Mr. Shorter and Mr. Scarce, thank you very much for being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being with us as well. I know that when we have the hearing of citizens, we ask that you, when you come forward, that you give your name and your district. We ask that you speak into the mic so that you can be heard. And I think we announced some time back that all of our meetings are videotaped now. So for even more, we appreciate you talking into the mic so that you can be heard. Each person speaking will have 3 minutes. It's your 3 minutes, and you can address any issue that you so desire. We do have a light system, as you can see, and when the light turns to amber, you have 1 minute. We have one person, and that is Mr. Richard Shoemaker. Mr. Shoemaker.
He's got a red light on here for a good little bit. I'm Richard Shoemaker from the Westover District. I'd like to offer a word of prayer before we start. Our Father in heaven, we're so thankful to have you be with us tonight. Welcome this new board for a new year. We ask you to sit with each one of these supervisors tonight, help them to make proper decisions that will be pleasing to you. And we ask them to do the same thing for the rest of the year. Be with us, go with us home, bring us back to our next meeting. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. I'd like to say a word or two before the red light comes back on. I know I got cut off on a red light before, and what I was trying to say, we've got too many cars sitting over yonder beside the property that the county owns and said we're gonna put a dog pan over there. And we've got cars sitting over there, I know it's been over there 2 or 3 years. We haven't sold them, we haven't used them. I myself drove one of them over there, and it's a good car. There's no reason that somebody that's working with the county couldn't be using it today, except we could sit over and rot it down, probably. But I drove one of these cars over there. It wasn't being used anymore, and we've since hired a economic development man. He could drove that car, been a good car for us. We've got a man that's working for the social, can't remember what I was, anyway, we got a man that was hired here to do the recreation, is what I'm trying to say. The recreation department, you said several years ago we was gonna do it for $60,000. I wondered how then you was gonna do it for $60,000. Today we got 3 men, and I'm not sure how many cars, but we got a field full of them that could be used. And when we're buying cars, I don't understand why we can't buy cars through the state. We get bids through the state, and it can be done. I used to work in the city of Windan, and we bought cars through the state, and we got them they bidded for them. And whatever we got, and then, when he got through with the police department, or some of the departments using my luck, we give them to other departments. But yeah, it looked like we just put them over like an old cow, it gets old, put it out to pasture and it's sitting over there rotting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. Next, we have a consent agenda. We had two items under the consent agenda, and they were really information to read before, or study before the meeting. We have the minutes and the bill list. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion from Mr. Blackstock, a second by Mr. Barber. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we're down to new business, appointments by the board. The nomination for the nomination for a representative on the community policy management team is Mr. Warren. And that has to be approved by the board, so at this time I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we had a motion by Mr. Davis and a second by Mr. Blackstock. All in favor? Okay, any discussion? Sorry, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, item 26, we are making two appointments to the Tri-County Lake Administrative Commission. Mr. Mundy has to, I think it's mandatory, am I correct, Mr. Mundy, in saying that you have to serve on that commission?
Yes, sir.
And well, along with a citizen representative. So we know we have Mr. Mundy with us here tonight, and we can approve that, but we don't have the citizen representative, so we will have to make that appointment for the citizen at the next adjourned meeting. Question to you, Mr. Mundy. So should we go ahead and just approve your appointment or wait till then?
You could now, sir, and
Okay.
we'll notify them and then make the other one once you do it at the adjournment.
Okay, so to the board, at this time, I will entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Mundy to the Tri-County Lake Administrative Commission.
I move that we appoint Mr. Mundy to the Tri-County Lakes Administrative Commission.
Okay, motion from Mr. Warren, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Blackstock. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you. Still under item 26, we have one citizen representative on the Leesville Lake Association, and we have contacted Mr. Sherwood Zimmerman, who wishes to be reappointed as a representative. At this time, I will entertain a motion to reappoint Mr. Sherwood Zimmerman as the representative for Leesville Lake Association representative. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend that Mr. Sherwood Zimmerman be reappointed to that position. And I know him well, he's a good person, he's been on the committee, or in that situation many times, so I certainly recommend he be reappointed.
Thank you, Mr. Hagerman.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Hagerman and a second by Mr. Blackstock. Any discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
if I may, just make a point of clarification. This would be the Leesville Lake Association representative on TLAC. And Mr. Zimmerman has been in that capacity for some time. I just want to make sure you knew you were making the appointment to TLAC as a representative from Leesville Lake.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mundy. Do we need to change it?
No, sir.
Okay. So, okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. We moved to item 12, appointments to the RIFA, and the chairman's appointments are as follows. Nominations or appointment. Primary, Mr. Barksdale. Secondary, Mr. Warren. The alternate, Mr. Blackstock. I will entertain a motion that the board approve the said appointments to the RIFA board.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we approve Jesse Barksdale for a 4-year term as a primary, Bob Warren for a 2-year term as a secondary, and Elton Blackstock as an alternate for a 4-year term to the Danville, Pittsylvania County Regional Facility Authority.
Okay, motion from Mr. Blackstock,
Second it.
second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 4. All opposed? I'm sorry.
It was 5.
Okay. Okay, 5. All opposed? 2 opposed. Thank you. Did we skip anything? I don't believe we did. Mr. Bundy, did we skip anything or anything?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going back through my notes, and I'm back to TLAC for just a minute. The TLAC, it will have the county administrator, a citizen rep, and the representative from Leesville Lake. We've got all of those. There is one other component, that would be an elected official representing the Board of Supervisors. So we will still have that one if the board is ready to do that this evening.
We do have that.
They got a Board of Supervisors member?
We do. I thought we did it, Mr. Hagan to that.
Yeah, number 23.
Yeah, 23.
Yes, we're good. We're
Okay.
caught up. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure we had a little overlap there on the agenda, but we got them all.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Money. Okay, so we didn't skip anything. We're now down to board announcements. And we will start with Mr. Barber. Okay. Mr. Hagan,
No, I haven't.
Mr. Blackstone.
I just want to say I'd like to thank the board for their support and confidence in being nominated and approved to serve as the vice chairman of the board for 2016. I look forward to serving the citizens of Pittsylvania County, and I'm very excited. The second thing is most important. My wife of 33 years, third anniversary is Thursday. We've been married 33 years, and I appreciate her support and confidence, and look forward to many more years of happiness with her.
Congratulations. Mr. Scares.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Davis.
Mr. Chair, I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Warren.
Yes, I'd like to take the opportunity to once again thank the constituents of the Chatham-Blairs District for their confidence and support, and I look forward to serving with each member of this board. And as I stated to Mr. Crane that was listed in the paper, I hope we can come together to now as a unified board and work together for the common goal of improving and moving Pittsylvania County forward. And also want to say it's nice to see Ms. Bowman and Mr. Harville in the audience. They couldn't even take one night off to start with. So it's wonderful to have you all here, and I'm sure we will be hearing from you all and needing your input, and we look forward to your assistance and your knowledge from the past in helping all of us.
I too echo the same sentiment. It's good to see Ms. Bowen and Mr. Harper are here. I just want to add on to what I said earlier. It is an honor to be nominated and elected as chairman of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors. And I want to thank the members of the board for voting for me and providing me with the opportunity to serve the citizens in this capacity. I want to say that I do not take this responsibility lightly. And I will work collaboratively to make sure that we meet the challenges that are before us. I'm looking forward again to working with our new supervisors, Mr. Warren, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Scares. And again, I know that they have knowledge, they have skills, and that they will have new ideas. So I really appreciate having the opportunity to serve with them. And again, I thank the board for its vote. We have any report or any comments, any reports rather from Mr. Monday?
No, sir.
Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Warren. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.